still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah.
This is the moment for those who.
What we do here is go back.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
What's going on, everybody? A little premature there on the intro. I don't know what happened. Streamlabs OBS went crazy on me, but hey, you know what? We're live. Welcome to the Child of Mecha live stream. Welcome, everybody. I see a few of you already going at it in the chat and everything, and on Facebook. Awesome. Thank you for watching. So let's see what's good tonight, everybody. Y'all feeling good? I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty good, actually. So we're going to do a little modeling tonight, maybe continue on with the detailing on this Jesta and everything, and we're going to see where it all takes us. We're going to go for probably about 2 hours tonight. Finally decided on kind of what my streaming schedule is going to be. So I figure what I'm going to do is go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Basically like 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Standard U.S. time. So hopefully that works for most of you. I know obviously it's not going to work for everybody, but you can always catch up on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. But what oh, you know, look at this. I built giant robots, the retro version. Look at that. That's awesome, right? You can get that on the Child Mecha store, just FYI. And always, if you see me working with a tool somewhere on this desk, on the 2-camera view, you can check out the Amazon link in the description on Facebook and YouTube, and then later on Twitch after we end. That will have all of the tools that you can get on Amazon. I've already sourced those for you, so they're easy to find. Most of them, if not all of them, are on Prime. So check that out. Definitely click that link and get you some good tools. So a few things that we're also going to do tonight. I want to try to kind of show you some things that have helped me along in my modeling career, if you will. So tonight I'm going to show you a quick book, probably the one book that has kind of revolutionized the way I build models. I've had it for many years, and you might be able to still find it, but we'll take a look at that here in a moment. Let's say hi to everybody first in the chat. GamerBud is with us over there on YouTube. Kurt Hill, thank you for joining. I see Scott Taylor's on. Ron Art, good stuff. Welcome, guys. Thank you for watching. Hey, you know what? Let's get the share machine going. Share, share, share. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or what have you, go share it on your social medias, your Twitters, your Facebooks, all that good stuff. Friendster, MySpace, Napster, all that good old shit. So share, 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 and let's get people knowing what we're doing here, knowing that we're building some cool stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to 2-camera. There we go. And what I want to show you is this guy right here, the Gundam Scratch Build Manual. Now, like I said, guys, this one book, if nothing else, this one book has completely revolutionized the way that I build models. And I bought it many years ago, and just going through this, looking at pictures, it's in Japanese language, so obviously if you don't understand Japanese, you're not going to understand, the words and things. But just looking at the pictures, there are many, many pictures. I'll show you, we'll go through some pages and stuff like that here in a moment. But this one book it's absolutely amazing. I don't know if it's still in print. I don't know if you can still get it on HLJ or Hobby Search or what have you. But if not, eBay this thing. It is worth its weight in gold. There's so much good content and information in this thing. And when you see other books claim to be scratch build books, they are nothing compared to this. This absolutely sets the standard on scratch building Bibles, if you will. So let's take a look. Let's crack open the cover here. Man, this thing, it just is a plethora of information. Oh, John's in the chat. And Mike's in there. What's going on, Mikey? Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Let's go through this here. Now, obviously, this was back before the Gundam Ver-Ka came out. So, obviously, they wanted to create their own Gundam Ver-Ka. So they used, the GMC master grade. It looks like they used a Quell and stuff like that. And, pictures upon pictures upon pictures, steps upon steps. You learn about new materials, new techniques, things about expanding different parts. Here's, limb extensions. This is the absolute best book that I have ever purchased in terms of modeling, guys. Things like adding, faceplate vents, little itty bitty details that just really kind of make the model amazing. Let's go back into a little bit, dig a little bit deeper here. Okay, so this is really cool. They build a Zaku, I believe it's Zaku 2FZ, completely from scratch, 100% from scratch. They're using polyester putty, and they're using epoxy putty, and just all sorts of amazing build techniques in this thing. Really, really cool. Vacuum forming. This is where I kind of learned the technique and kind of the inner workings of vacuum forming, and that's why I made my own. They're actually really easy to make, and you don't even have to go crazy like I did on mine. I always go overkill, but you can make something super, super simple. This is the book. This is the one book. I mean, it shows you, you know, some scribing and detail techniques and things. Just an amazing, amazing book. How to make domes. That's really cool. Let's see what else. Here we go. So, I don't know if you guys can see that, but let's see. Let's get the zoom in. Whoop. Pull that down a little bit. Does that look familiar? Right there? It should. That's what I use. So, this book, look at that, will show you how to make articulated fingers. Super, super cool. Super cool. Let's get the zoom back out here so you guys can see what I'm talking about with this. There we go. Let's see. Look at this. This is amazing. So you can see how small these little, these little scratch-built fingers are, and just, kind of how articulated they are with this, especially with this picture here. Just amazing stuff. And this was, this was early 2000s, that this particular book came out. So this is not what you would call modern technology in the world of modeling. Especially with 3D printing and rapid prototyping and things like that. This is old school, guys. This is the good stuff that you want to know how to do. Look at this, scratch-built GMC head out of polyester putty, 100% from scratch, including the visor. Amazing stuff. Where's the one part I wanted to show you here? Okay, so this is really cool too. This isn't what I was talking about. Scratch-built feet. Look at this. With the plate details underneath and everything. Just so damned cool. But there's one thing that I'm pretty sure was this book. It might have been the second one. Nope, here we go. This also gets into resin casting, guys. I'm a big fan of that. I use it on a lot of my projects and things like that. The Ozymandias, the Hummingbird used many different scratch-built, then resin-copied parts and things. And just to kind of show you what I mean, these right here, these are the back boosters that I actually scratch built and then resin cast these. So these are resin. These are 100% solid. And I've had these left over since the Hummingbird build. Cast extras just to be on the safe side. You can never be too safe when it comes to getting good cast resins. So yeah, figure I'll use these sometime in the future on another project. But that goes to show you, I learned all that stuff from this particular book. It shows you dump cast molding. It shows you two-part molding with using clay and things like that, making your own sprues, how to orient it, especially into the mold, because that, above all else, when you're resin casting, is just absolutely crucial. How you have it set up in the mold so that the air can flow out and you can get a proper cast. Just really, really good stuff. They also show you plug molding, where you use two plugs to take up the space that wouldn't normally fit inside of a normal mold. So if you had, dips like in this leg assembly here, you can kind of see it here. This is how the plugs work. So you have these two plugs, and then they go into your mold, and then the resin flows around it, and then the positive from there, the resin is cast. So this book, man, I can't recommend this book enough to you guys, especially if you want to get into customizing and really deep into scratch building and things. This is a really good one that I've used quite a lot, embedding polycaps, structural bars, ball joints, things like that. I've embedded polycaps in a bunch of my pieces before and things, so it's super useful. So this is the one, guys. This is the one. And man, just incredible book. Get it if you can find it. It retailed back in the day for 2,500 yen. I'm sure that you can probably find it for a little bit more expensive than that. Hopefully on like eBay, maybe some secondhand shops and stuff like that. But Gundam Scratch Build Manual, that's the one you want. If they have a volume 2, if you see volume 2, get that too. It's equally as great. Let's see. Alex Andrews. No, unfortunately, there is no English in this book, but like I said, there's plenty of pictures. If you look and study the pictures, you'll absolutely understand what exactly is going on in this thing. So, guys, get that book. Seriously, I don't know how many times I have to say it. Get the book. All right, so let's get back to this Jesta, shall we? But first, let's see what's going on in the chat, because I know some people are going off in the chat, especially there on YouTube. Gamer Bud, Bailey, Alex Andrews is there as well. Very early morning. How are you? I'm doing good, sir. Early morning, so you must be on the other side of the world, because I'm over here, and it's about 10:30 my time, PM. So you might be what, Australia? I'm guessing, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Edwin RSA, you can use Google Translate if you want some explanation on the technique. True, that's a very good point. I find automated translations, especially when it comes to Japanese, a bit challenging, so you will have to both study the picture and read that translation. So, oh, dude, Alex, you're in the UK. Wow, 3:30. Yeah, you're what? You're probably about 5 hours, if my math is correct, ahead of us. So, hey, man, thanks for watching, especially that late. So, good stuff. GamerBud, speaking of epoxy and polyester putty, I see that epoxy putty is only sold in small amounts and can be pricey. Is polyester putty also sold in small quantities, or can you get it in large quantities? Great question. Polyester putty is, I mean, it's essentially Bondo. So you can get it in larger quantities. I mean, not massive quantities, but bigger than that. But honestly, epoxy putty, you don't really need a ton. I've shown you guys this before. Tamiya epoxy putty quick type in the green box. This one was 100 grams, and in Japan it retailed for 1480 yen, 1480 yen. So, you know, approximately $14 here in the US. But that will last you a while. And as long as you're not completely making parts from it, which you probably wouldn't want to do anyways. You know, you would want to use plastic sheets, strips, plates, all that good stuff to make sure, number one, that your geometry is correct and square, and then just add that on for other details or filling in gaps, voids, things of that nature, maybe reshaping some existing parts. But I personally wouldn't recommend scratch building, you know, an entire part from it. So that's just my kind of my 2 cents, if you will. So let's see what else we got in the chat here. Dark Kaiser 99 is over there on Twitch. Thank you for watching, sir. So is Gumpla Boy, tuning into his first stream in his new apartment. Awesome, congratulations, and thank you for watching, man. I appreciate that. That's amazing. Look at that. Well, perfect time. Alex and Andrews on YouTube says, perfect timing. Woke up because dog's going crazy, so may as well chill to an awesome stream. Man, thank you. That's amazing. That's awesome to say. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Gumpa Boy says, our family is all here, so I'm watching with volume off. Lip reading practice. That's for you, Gumpa Boy. Hopefully you understand. Let's see what else. I know we missed some things here up in the chat a little bit earlier. I know Gamer Bud was in there early, chatting and stuff like that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. The Scratch Build Volume 1 is all over the net. Yeah, in PDF form. That is absolutely correct, Bailey. You can definitely find several choice articles. Through Google images and things like that, PDFs, torrent downloads, stuff like that. But yeah, Volume 2 is a little bit harder to find. It is not as readily available as Volume 1 is, those articles. But if you can get the actual physical book, get it. Get it. I highly recommend it. Get it, get it, get it. No matter what kind of hoops that you need to jump through, get it. If you have to go to, Yahoo Japan auctions or something like that, or if you're lucky enough, you can order through maybe Amazon Japan or something, or hell, even Taobao or something along those lines, man, whatever you have to do, just get it. It's an amazing book. Amazing book. Gamer Bud, he said he ordered 10 new kits. Damn, dude. Getting serious. I like it. That's awesome. Kurt Hill, bummer. LOL at work again. We'll catch the live stream live on, I guess, tomorrow. Watch the previous live stream last night while working on a kit. Awesome. Good stuff. Looks like Andrew just joined over there on Facebook. Welcome, dude. So now that we're kind of caught up with the chat here, because I like to pay attention to you guys. I like to interact and kind of give back to you, and thank you guys for watching. But let's get into what you guys are here to see. Some cool stuff. Look at that. Bailey's hoarding, guys, Bailey's hoarding model books over there on YouTube. He's got the Master Archive Zaku, Clash of the Deities, and Scratch Build Revolution. 3 amazing books, might I add. So good choices, all 3. Scratch Build Revolution is a great detailing book. I have that as well. And Mr. Dash's Clash of the Deities, just superb stuff. The artwork that Kevin has come up with, and the photoshopping and stuff like that, just really second to none. Let's see. Alex Andrews, really need to feed the Gunpla addiction, but no Gunpla stores in the UK have any of the newer kits. Yeah, I know. It's hard for you guys, isn't it? Yeah, I feel for you guys in the UK. Obviously my good friend Simon's over there, who is on Gunpla Talk with me, and we chat all the time, and he kind of tells me of the trials and tribulations of being in the UK, the import duties and all that stuff. Man, it's a tough break, dude, and there's not really a great distributor, a centralized distributor like there are in some of the other countries. So yeah, I feel for you, brother. I really, really do. Get what you can. Get what you can. I know there's some of the places online that will mark it as like a gift or something like that to help you out on the import duties and stuff like that. Ask around. The UK Facebook groups and things like that are great resources. Or just contact Gundam UK, Simon himself. He'll kind of let you in on some secrets and things like that. So, all right. So, if you remember, last time what we did is we worked on these 2 pieces right here. Let's get you zoomed in so you can see what I'm talking about. Boom, there we go. So we've got these two little pieces here. This is the side part to the Jesta leg, which is that piece right there. That's the stock piece, obviously. This is our customized piece, and I find it that it's upside down. So there we go. Now it's right side up. And then the white piece here is something that we scratch built last time. Just a detail piece to go on the back thruster cowling on the leg itself. So we're going to apply that here right now. And where did the leg that I was working on go? This is the stock leg. Oh, it's over there. Pardon me for a moment. I need to go grab the leg. Sorry about that, guys. So, here's the leg. It was over in my little photo booth because I had taken a picture of this and posted it to the social medias and everything so you guys could see the detail and all. And I forgot it over there. It was sitting over there all the time. So, let's see. GamerBud, he says, I know it only started with 3 kits. I got the real grade unicorn, Banshee Norn, and the Sinanju. Then my sister said she really thought the real grade Astray red frame looked cool. So in the cart it went. Then he says, grabbed a few Zeta Gundam and more Unicorn series kits. He got the Jesta cannon, the HGUC version, and that does look nice. I do like the Jesta cannon. I would have bought it if it was a regular release, but unfortunately, the Master Grade version of it was a P Bandai. You can find them here and there, not, not crazy prices, but a little more than I had wanted to spend at this point. So it is what it is. Let's check in over on Facebook, see who's over there. Andrew's talking. Let's see what Andrew has to say. Out of curiosity, do you only wear Gundam robot shirts? No, I don't. I actually only wear my Gundam and robot shirts. So there you go. By the way, Child of Mecha store. Boom, done. So this is the vent cowling that we were working on the other night. And let's break this thing down so we can start gluing up here. Get you on the camera. There we go. And I'm going to zoom you back out so I can work a little bit better. We'll pull you back to about 80, let's go back to 70 millimeters. I think that's a good zoom. Put the tape on there so the zoom doesn't slip, and let's get to work. Tamiya extra thin. Boop. There we go. All right, yeah. And we are going to put the pieces down here on the cutting mat. We're going to push this back because we don't need the cutter or the chopper right this second. Clear out some of this mess here that I've got on my desk. And there is the back cowling piece that we are going to glue this detail piece down to, pretty much like that. And then this piece here is going to slot back there. And then if we center this up correctly, and if it stays, that's essentially, obviously it's just sitting there, it's not glued in or anything. That's how it's going to look. So let's do that. So we're going to put this off to the side a little bit. We're going to put this off to the side. And what we're going to do, since this X piece, this block is raised, we're going to grab that with our tweezers. So now we can just manipulate this. Grab our Tamiya extra thin, pop that out, and let's get some glue on this thing. And you don't want a lot. A little bit goes a long way, but you do want it to cover the entire piece. And you want to start activating that solvent in there to get the melting started, because that's essentially what is happening with model glue. It's melting the plastic to the surface that you're gluing to, as long as it's styrene. That's the main thing. So there we go. And I'm going to place this as carefully as possible. We got a little bit of working time, thankfully, with Tamiya extra thin. So we're going to position this carefully. And you know what? I forgot again. We need these. Never model without them. Because you can see You can see the Venus with these things. All right, let's see what we look like here. Let's see how that looks. And just by eyeballing it, I can tell it's not quite centered yet. So we're going to push that a little bit into position. All right, so now we've got to find a little T-square. Let's do some measuring. And let's see if we're centered approximately here. So that's 1.5 from the bevel. This one is 1.5 from the bevel. Sweet. So that now is centered on that piece. One more step that we have to do is we have to make this flush with this angle here. So how we do that is I take my just a steel ruler and pop that right there, and then that will push that piece until it's flush with that level, with that angle there. So that is really quite nice. So then that is what it's going to look like. So pretty good. And you can even kind of see the panel lines on that too. Not too shabby. So let's see what it looks like actually on the kit itself, because that'll be the big factor here. That's the most important. As long as it looks good on the actual kit, that's what we're concerned with. And as you guys, as you guys have seen, if I could speak correctly tonight, I'm kind of going minimal details with this Jesta. This is more out of box for me, with just details and stuff. So yeah, look at that. That looks pretty damn good overall. That's a good look. That is a good look. Yeah, look at that. That is a nice looking leg right there, if I do say so myself, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work on this deflector flap here. It's kind of like a mud flap, if you will, but for thrust. So we're going to pull that off here. First, we've got to get these other pieces pulled away. Got to get that thruster bent there, and then we get this cowling pulled off. And this just pops off. This slides off. It's set in there by friction, but it's always a pain in the butt to get off. There we go. Set those aside. And now what we need to do is we need to pull these two side pieces off here so we can get in there and we can get leverage on this thing and pop it down. So just gonna kind of wiggle it. Boom, there we go. And she is free. So there's your little mud flap essentially there. Very plain piece. There's nothing going on the blue surface here. Very minimal on the back. You've got a molded in panel line here, and then you've got the basically the two slots that hold these two pieces together. Let's see here. Let's see what everybody's doing. Dark Kaiser, can you show the tools and tips for making notches? Sure. Give me a few minutes, and we can definitely do that. We can add some to this piece here, actually. So good call. But let's see. Let's figure out what we want to do first, because that's important. I don't want to go crazy with this thing. I want it to be simple, nice, but mechanical looking. That's the important part. P Bandai equals empty bank account, Andrew says on YouTube. That is correct. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. I just recently pre-ordered the Gundam Stormbringer P Bandai, and that was not cheap. That was not cheap, man. But it is a cool design. I dig it. So I think I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with that particular kit. So yeah, P Bandai is. They can get pricey. They can get pricey. All right, so we're going to, let's use our good friend here, 1/2 mil by 1/4 mil strip. And I think what I want to do is maybe just add a strip down here at the bottom, kind of like that, just as a simple accent piece. But then maybe run a panel line a little higher. So let's measure this out, see how much strip we're going to need first. So edge to edge is 11 millimeters. 10 is going to be a little too wide. So let's call that 9 millimeters on this. So we're going to get this lined up here. We're going to chop it up. That looks good right there. Get our little hobby knife. Pop. And there she goes. There is our new 9 millimeter little detail strip. And this other strip doesn't want to cooperate with me. There we go. All right. We're going to get our friend Mr. Tamiya Extra Thin out here. Ah, look, there's Jimmy, Gunpla Fixation himself, over there on YouTube joining in. Welcome, Jim. Thank you, as always, for watching. And let's see. There's the piece. There's the itty-bitty strip. There's our Tamiya Extra Thin. There's what we're going to hold the piece with. So, very, very simple. Let's visor down so I can see. Pop that piece on the strip, and as always, we're going to kiss it with a little bit of glue. Nothing crazy. You don't want a ton of glue on this because this is a super small piece, and we are going to position it just down here, maybe a millimeter or so from the bottom. And let's see. Let's inspect our work and see if that is centered. That looks parallel to the bottom, so I'm pretty happy with that. That looks, yeah, that looks pretty much parallel to the bottom edge there on camera. I like it. And what we can do though is we can double check with a 1 millimeter piece of scrap plastic. So I'm just going to run that just down the bottom and see. Yep, 1 millimeter exactly from the end. Where did the T-square go? Here it is. So now we're going to measure and make sure that this is centered on the piece. So just over 1 in the line, 1 millimeter in the line, and this is just over 1 millimeter in the line. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we're just going to apply some pressure to that, make sure that is sticking properly, which it looks like it is, thankfully. And then we're going to get to scribing, and we're going to do some notches. We're going to do some notches. Bingo, Dymo tape scraps. That's what we like. All right. Now, since this goes underneath of that vent, it kind of goes like this a little bit, so it's not all visible. I want to bring the panel line down enough to where you're actually going to see a visible panel line. So what we're going to do is we're going to eyeball this here, but we're still going to measure. We're going to measure from that valley, and that is, let's see, from that valley to the bottom of our strip is 14 millimeters. So if we come down, maybe split the difference, maybe do 7, that might be a good look. Let's go 8. I like 8. I like 8. So we're going to do 8. Okay. Get some of this other stuff out of the way here. And let's get our pencil out here, and we're going to mark 8 mil down. right there. And you don't, obviously, you can hardly probably see that mark. Well, you can't. You don't need a, a super dark mark on your plastic. You just need to know where that measurement is. Pretty simple stuff, really. All right. So, as always, save your Dymo scraps because they come in very handy. And we're going to pop this on here, and then we're going to make sure that it is parallel, again, also to the edge. So, actually, since we know this strip is parallel, what we can do, this is alternative, is we can use a strip of plastic like this, and just as kind of a guide. Now, this is 4 millimeters in diameter, or width, I should say. Diameters for circles, everybody. Know your math. We can use that bottom strip as a guide, basically as an edge. We can bump that up there, and then now we have a perfectly now parallel line to that strip. So now we don't even have to worry about measuring or anything, and that's just a little bit below that mark anyway. So we're going to go with that. I like it, so we'll stick with it. All right, we're going to strip the backing off of a piece of Dymo tape and grab it with little tweezers here. Gunpla fixation. He says, Tim, found an interesting tool today, kind of pricey, but maybe useful. It's a scraper that creates bevels at different angles on the inner or outer edges of barrels and cylinders. HL.com. I think you meant HLJ, but I think I've seen that tool as well. It's looks like a medieval weapon, almost looks like a mace head or something like that, if that's the one you're talking about. All right, placing that. All right, now we don't want to press this down just yet because we want to make sure that this is lined up perfectly with that line. And it is. Cool. So now we press it down, we commit. Yep, that's the one. Bingo. Yeah, I've seen that floating around before, and I was interested in it, but I don't know if I do enough tube and barrel bevels to make it worth it, because I think it was like $30 or something like that. I mean, for me, something along these lines, especially for inner insides of the tubes, just these bits work wonders, and you get a whole bunch of them probably for the same price. And if you need anything bigger, well, there's always this. That is a countersink drill bit, very common. This is 3/4 inch wide, 3/4 inch diameter. Remember, diameters for circles, people. Know your math. But this is really, really good. I've used this on many larger plastic tubes and things. Good tool. Good tool. All right. So let's get our scriber out. That's the 0.3. We don't want that just yet. This should be, 0.15. And let's commit to this line. Let's get some scribing in here. Now, as I always say, first pass, super light. Second pass, super light. Let the tool do the work, people. Let the tool do the work, because that is what it's there for. And then you can start applying pressure on subsequent passes. And you just want it nice and clean. You don't want skipping or chirping as you're making this. You want a nice, even sound on your scribes here. So let's reveal what we have. Remember, chisel discipline. Whoop. Oh yeah, Gunpla fixation. Jimmy, yes. BMC all day. Don't get me wrong, Matte works are very nice as well. I'm invested in BMC, so that's just what I use. All right, let's get the zoom going here, kicked up a notch, just a little bit there, but hopefully I can catch the light. Oh yeah, a little bit more. Bring it down. Let me bring it down. There you go. There's that scribe, and obviously that's just parallel to that plastic strip, which is then parallel to the edge there. Principality of Xeon. What brand scribe is that? Great question. This is a BMC chisel. Oh, there you go. It's a 0.15. It's my favorite diameter. I'm going to learn one of these days, guys. I'm going to learn not to say diameter. But until then, sorry. This is a 0.15 millimeter width, which is my favorite width for 1/100th scale regular panel lines. For notches and things, you can go a little bit bigger, but 0.15 is my chisel of choice for 1/100th scale models. So now you have this line, this scribe going across here, but what about the sides? A lot of people forget about the sides. They just make a line, especially when starting out. They make a line and that's it. Not sanding to remove the swirling in the plastic. No, because this is going to be painted, and I'm going to eventually sand it, obviously, because the scribes leave a little ridge and everything. So most of the stuff does get painted. But again, this is just a Jesta. This is just something I'm kind of doing on the side, and I'm not overly worried about, you know, minute surface details. Now, if this was a GBWC entry or something, I would be going just fanatical for surface prep and all that. This is just something for fun, so I'm not too worried about it. But good question. Let's see. So Jimmy over there, he says, do you know why oh geez, okay, why AF Hero broke off the tips of all his BMC chisels? Did he lose his mind? Probably $500 worth of chisels. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I mean, they looked old, like old chisels to me. So I don't know if he was switching up or going to MadWorks or what. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know what Jim and I are talking about, there's a Japanese modeler who is, oh, look at that, Qsing Style. God, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for the subscribe there on YouTube. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching as well. But for those of you that not knowing, AF Hero, Anaheim Factory Hero is what he goes by on social media. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him on Instagram as well. Very, very talented and amazing modeler. And he put out a video. Oh, is he? I thought he was Japanese. Sorry, John's over there on YouTube correcting me. Sorry, John. I swore I thought he was Japanese, but he's Korean, I guess. John knows John knows more than me when it comes to these, these types of things. So I trust in his advice. So AF here is a Korean modeler who is very, very talented. Works on a ton of resin kits, hyper details, things of that nature on his plastic kits and stuff. And he put out a video that he was breaking off the tips of his BMC chisels with a pair of pliers. And yeah, it was very surprising. I don't know why he did it. There wasn't really a reason. Lol Scrub 23, thank you for the follow over there on Twitch. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching, Lol Scrub. And so, nobody knows why he did it. And it just kind of seemed like a waste. But like I said, they were older chisels from what it looks like. So, I don't know. Nobody knows. Let's see. Bailey, are you going to do a notch in the middle of a panel, but not butted up to a panel line? Been curious on how you get that done. Great question. Great question. I'm probably not going to do that on that piece, but I might be able to do something along those lines for you in a moment. So stay tuned, and we can probably get that done, because that's actually a nice little detail piece as well. Maybe we can, what we do, maybe we can put it on that little guy right there. Have it maybe, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter underneath of this this box scribe that I did. Let me try and catch the light so you guys can see it. All right, see that box scribe right there above the detail piece? Maybe we can do it, pull it down a little bit from that, maybe like 1 millimeter under or something like that. Should be good, yeah. So we'll do that here in a moment. So stay tuned, and that'll be for you, man. Lol Scrub, hey man, should be sleeping, but this is too good to miss out. Cheers. Thank you, dude. Thank you. Thank you for losing sleep because of me. I appreciate that. That means a lot. That means a lot. So, thank you for the subscribe, or follow, I should say. Terminology is correct. And let's finish this one out, because it's pretty. This is a pretty simple scribe on this piece. But like I said before, the big thing that you gotta remember when you're doing custom panel lines is they have to end at some sort of logical place. So with this, we can't just make a scribe on top here and expect it to look good. We need to bring it down on these sides and basically have it terminate off the very edge of this piece. If we were getting really particular, I'd even panel line this little lip here, which I might actually do because it's super tiny and you can actually freehand that very easily. So super easy technique to do. And what I'm going to do here is use my T-square as a guide. And where's the 1.5? Here it is. So we are going to pop this piece right here on the edge of the T-square. And we're going to need to balance this very carefully, just like this. And we're going to line up that edge. Let me try to pull the camera back a little bit because it looks like it slipped a little. Right about there. That looks good. Let's put the tape up here. Perfect. So we're going to line that up with the panel line that we just scribed, just like that. And now we're going to use this as our scribing edge. And it's just a super short line, and you want to be careful because you don't want to run your chisel into the ruler too much. You just want to get that line started. You want to get the gouge and the groove going, and then once you have that, then you can put the ruler down and really get it much deeper there. Cool. All right, now we're going to do the same thing to the other side real quick. Alex Andrews over there on YouTube, he says, would you say it's better to practice scribing on plot plate or styrene until you feel comfortable about doing it for the real project? 100%, dude. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Scrap pieces, scrap plastic. This little guy right here, this was scrapped back in the day, and I took pieces from this to make the hummingbird. So things like this, if you just have scrapped models, those are perfect to practice scribing on. Yes, by all means, yes. Yeah, Jim's saying the same thing over there on YouTube as well. Great minds and all, right? All right, let's get back and finish this scribe up here real quick. We're going to balance that. Now, the balancing with all of this is probably the hardest part. You could probably make a jig for something like this, but I find it just easier to try and balance it as best as I can with this T ruler here, just to get it started. There we go. Just a few passes. And now that's going to create the groove that we can follow with our chisel. Now, I'm going to do something that you probably shouldn't do, and that's push with one of these chisels. With one of these small chisels, I should say. You want to avoid pushing with these chisels. These chisels are made to pull or to scratch, essentially, the surface. That's what the scribing action is. But in certain circumstances, it is appropriate. So I just needed to deepen that groove just a small bit to really start to get scribing. Now with larger diameter chisels, maybe 0.5, 0.4 and above, you can do more pushing with the chisel. But you don't want to do it with the really small guys. So now that we've got these two sides done, they're parallel, looking good. They're matched up angle-wise since we used the same ruler on both sides. Now I'm going to just show you kind of how to freehand. And what we're going to do, since this is maybe 1.5 millimeters right here, we're again going to push. So very, very small area, and you want to be super careful because you don't want to get too deep. You just want to basically scratch the surface, and you also want to try to avoid what's called blowout, which is when the plastic just rips off the piece. You're just wanting to push up just a hairline thick of plastic just to get that groove started there. Just got a groove back. Sorry, I couldn't resist. And then you can go in there with the scraping action like normal and really make that panel line pop out. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to do the same thing to the side. And then this piece should be close to being done. So with the pushing method that I'm using right now, I'm really only going over about maybe 3/4 of a millimeter worth of plastic because that panel line along the side has basically made, you know, obviously a dip in the side of the plastic itself. So it's subtracted from the overall width that I have to actually push from. So remove some of that scrap. There we go. And there we have it. Let's show you guys. Let's see if we can catch the light on this. Oh, first try. Look at that. See, there's those side panel right there. Right there. Right there. That little guy right there. Looking pretty good. And then along the bottom, you can see, you can see the little scribes maybe right there, and then also right there. So that essentially is how you want to scribe a panel line, a brand new panel line in a piece. So you definitely want to have it end in a logical position. So let's check in with the chat because you guys are going crazy in the chat right now. Yeah, also, man, you guys are nuts over there on YouTube. Let's see. Let's scroll up because I feel like I've missed a bunch talking here. Okay, so Alex Andrews says, so like the new Leo would be good to practice scribing on. Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's very important. And Jim Gumplifixation and over there on YouTube said this. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, and that's a big thing that I always like to tell new modelers, is that I've been doing this for almost 20 years, so I've got, you know, experience under my belt, and I've done a lot of these techniques many times before. So don't be discouraged if you're not able to replicate what I'm able to do right out of the gate. There is a learning curve, and don't be afraid to ruin a model or two. Hopefully it's more of a high grade and a cheap, you know, cheaper type of model that you might ruin, but keep in mind that you will ruin a model. I have boxes over here behind me next to my spray booth of just scrap. This guy right here, I ruined him way back in the day. Obviously not his upper body, but his lower body and his head. So he was scrapped. There was nothing really I wanted to do about it, and honestly I didn't really care enough at the time to try and fix my mistakes, because I didn't have the skill set then that I have now. But he did come in handy when I was working on the Hummingbird, so sometimes your mistakes will come back and be successful in a way, so keep that in mind. Let's see what else. Obviously, avoid practicing on a kit you want to do your best on, and that's cheap. Good, thank you, John. That's definite. Leo has a lot of round parts, Bailey says over there on YouTube. Yes, definitely. So the way I look at it is that if you want to get into scribing, why not just jump in the deep end? Sure, you might mess it up. Sure, you might make some mistakes. But if you can master it, say, on a curved piece, why not? Then a square, flat panel piece is that much easier. So, food for thought. Let's see. Something, Bailey says, something with a blockier form would be easier to start with GMs and most Gundams. Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Alex Andrews says, need to learn how to use Putty and where to get it, quote unquote, near me. Depends on the Putty. Putty's actually in both forms that we normally use is pretty easy to use. The epoxy putty that I use, I've made tutorials on. You can find that on childofmecha.com in several different places, and especially in the whips of my finished models, like the Ozymandias especially. I used a lot of epoxy putty on that to reshape pieces and things, and especially on this head to come up with a very unique shape there. So you can kind of pick up some pointers with that as well. Cyril Hottie says, how do you deal with Gunpla burnout? Man, great question. It's tough, man. You know, you will get burnout after a while. No matter how passionate you are in this hobby, you will absolutely burn out at some point. There's no avoiding it, and there's nothing you can do to stop it, but there are things that you can do to alleviate. Some of the things that I've learned to do is to try and look at as much inspirational imagery as I can. Now, mind you, not like the inspirational posters you see on your office wall, you know, not the things with the, you know, the mountains and says imagination or some stupid stuff like that. No, the inspirational imagery that I'm talking about is, you know, images of things that you really find cool, like other people's models, people that you may look up to, you know, Gundam scratch build manuals, Hobby Japan's, you know, those types of things. Pinterest, you know, jump on there and just throw in customized Gundam or Gunpla or what have you, your mech of choice. Another thing that I really like to do is take a look at, concept art. There is a website called artstation.com. artstation.com. That is the coup de grace of concept art. Tons of professionals, industry professionals, from video games to aerospace engineering, just futurists, movie and TV industries. Those types of people are on there, and like high level people like presidents of departments and things of that nature, and really, really talented people. You can spend days on that website and just, lose yourself essentially in inspiration. And then after all that, man, just kind of force yourself back into it. Sometimes when I get kind of burned out on something, I just have to force myself back into the studio and just sit down and start working, whether I want to or not. And that will start to alleviate that burnout. So great question. Great question. Hopefully, if you're suffering from burnout, hopefully you get past it really quickly. It's just a fact of the modeler's life, unfortunately. So let's see. Man, you guys are kicking it up over there on YouTube, on YouTube tonight. Let's see. Bailey says Milliput should be readily available, and it's comparable to Tamiya epoxy putty. True, yes. And I had some somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Milliput, I do use. Oh wait. Boom. There you go. Now, granted, this is Milliput white. This is the super fine stuff. So this is very comparable to Tamiya epoxy putty white, which is the smooth surface. So these two products are very, very similar. They are definitely not in the same quality realm as, say, the quick type epoxy putty. That's my hands down number one epoxy putty of choice. These two are secondary. I've tried the smooth type on one of my little customized bear guys, and I didn't really care for this. And quite frankly, I'm not sure if I will use this in many situations. So this may collect dust. So, bummer. $15 down the drain in Japan. But Milliput Superfine White, on the other hand, does have a wonderful, wonderful purpose. And that's to make what's called a slurry. Now, obviously, you guys are like, Tim, what's a slurry? Is that what you get at the 7-Eleven down the street? No, that's a Slurpee. What I'm talking about is a slurry. Basically, you mix a little bit of Milliput white with a little bit of water, and that makes kind of like a almost like a paste, almost like toothpaste, really. It's much thinner, and that water will evaporate to leave a nice hardened surface of the epoxy putty. And what I like to do is, if I have to smooth out an ultra thin piece or fill a very, very thin void to where maybe the Tamiya epoxy putty might not stick appropriately, if you make a slurry and use the Milliput white, it will work wonders. I did that on my Blue Destiny when I was, excuse me, when I was adding the cheek plate front vents, and it had maybe like a 1/4 millimeter hangover, and I couldn't file it down because it would take off too much material from the vent, and I couldn't fill it with plastic because trying to sand that down would have been a nightmare with that hard of a material. So I used Milliput white in a slurry form, and it worked great. It leveled perfectly, and it sanded really, really nicely. And once you painted it, you could not tell it was there. So Milliput white is very, very good in some cases. Now, mind you, I've not tried the other Milliputs, so I can't speak for their quality. So give it a shot. Let's see. Kenneth Sim over there on YouTube says, besides BMC chisels, can try to look out for MadWorks chisels from Taiwan. It's a bit cheaper. Yes, they are. Very good quality. I know my good friend Mr. Dash, Kevin Zhang, uses MadWorks exclusively, and he also sells them on his website here in the States. A bunch of other guys use MadWorks as well to, some really, really successful ends. Like I said many times, I'm invested in BMC, so that's I'm stuck in that kind of ecosystem, if you will. So good call there. Let's keep scrolling down. Man, you guys are going crazy. Crazy. All right, you can try maybe eBay, maybe Putty shipped from China, usually cheap, but does take a little while to arrive, true. Hobby Search, HLJ, Ami. I've never bought from there, but I've heard really good things, especially from my friends over in the UK about Ami and their service, especially to the UK, with the import duties and things. I've heard that they've kind of helped out with that several times with marking it on the import form and everything is maybe less or something different, or marking it as toy parts or something. So I've seen that happen several times. So you may want to search that route too. So good call there. Let's see. Alex says all the nearest places are 50+ miles away, so it's not easy. Yeah, I've definitely been in that boat, man. Here in the U.S., the modeling scene has definitely waned. Unfortunately, over the past 20 or so years, probably 30+ years, and it's getting harder and harder to find a local store. My local store that I frequented actually closed up several months ago. So that was a hard pill to swallow, unfortunately, because I went there for paint and plastic and all that stuff. So now I have to source it online, which sucks, but part of the hobby. All right, let's see. Let's see. Bailey says, master grade GM ground. Love it. One of my first master grades about 15 years ago. Cool. I love it too. I love all the GM ground guys, all the ground mechs and everything. The Blue Destiny, one of my personal favorites, so good stuff. Let's see. Principality of Xeon over there on Twitch said, yeah, I actually ruined my very first kit trying to panel line with an X-Acto, but now I'm using the parts for a scratch build. It always works out. That's awesome, dude. That is so good. Just hearing that makes me happy inside. That's so cool, because yes, those types of things do actually work out in the end. So good luck on that scratch build, man. I'm sure you'll knock it out of the park. So that's cool to hear. Bailey says, Pinterest is inspiration bag of holding for Gunpla. Yeah, dude, it really is. You can find almost anything on there. Good stuff. Alex Andrews says, don't trust eBay. I've had very horrible experiences trying to get stuff from there. Yeah, it's hit and miss. You need to look at the reviews, really. I think that's really kind of where the where the rubber hits the road, so to speak. So yeah, you take your chances every single time. But if you can find a reputable seller, then most of the times you should be good to go. Let's see. Oh, Alex Andrews, Ami, A-M-I. Ami. There you go. Kenneth Sim. Thank you, sir. In the chat. Johnny on the spot. Good stuff. And boop, there we go. Wish we got a master grade GM striker. Yeah, me too. That would be cool, right? With that spear thing that they have. That's the lance. halberd. I don't know what they call that thing. It was cool though. Bailey says, I also recommend HLJ, but those Gunpla Club podcast guys in the UK seem to order from Banzai Hobby. Yes. You know what? Thank you for reminding me. Banzai, I have heard of as well. Hooking people up over there in the UK. So yeah, good call. Good call. If you guys aren't part of the what is it? Gunpla, UK Gunpla Facebook group. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Definitely get on that. Good bunch of guys on there. It's run by a few of my, friends over there on that side of the pond, so to speak, and really great information. They share, kind of inside secrets with what vendors help out with what. Also, where to find things, especially on like Taobao, because that's a great place to get cheap tools and detail parts and stuff like that. I've dropped more than my fair share on Taobao, but you need to go through to get there in a certain way. You need to go through a what's called a broker. But man, once you do, it completely opens up a whole new world where you can get stuff for pretty cheap. So unfortunately, kits and things like that aren't any cheaper because they have to bring them over from Japan, just like every place else outside of Japan. But the one thing that I do find is that they have genuine, mind you, not knockoff, not counterfeit, but genuine P Bandai kits on there for very inexpensive costs. A friend of mine found a a Hazel Custom. I think it was the first one that they had out. It might have been one of the second ones. I don't know, but it was like $40 US on there, which was insanely cheap. Insanely cheap. You couldn't find that anyplace else, and this was after it was released. So yeah, Taobao blows my mind sometimes. So and they've got crazy good experts over there on the UK Gundam or Gunpla. I forget what the group is called off the top of my head, but man, they got some experts over there. Richard Flanagan, Tim Mather, a bunch of other guys over there that do a lot of Taobao ordering. Man, they know their stuff, and those guys have actually shown me the ropes when it came to my first Taobao order, which went off without a hitch, by the way. So I'm really happy about that. Let's check into the chat also here again. That's a project I would love to do. This is Alex Andrews, by the way, but want to work on getting the skills first before getting another master grade GM sniper. Good call. Very good call. Practice, and then practice some more. UK Gunpla Modelers. Thank you, Jimmy, over there on YouTube. Very good. Wow. 22 pound for the master grade Jesta off Ami. Yeah. It's good prices. Very good prices. Let's see. Kenneth Sim, what's your preference on filling up huge gaps, super glue or putty? Man, it depends. Depends on a few different variables. If it's a massive gap, say, over like a millimeter, then, and if it's deep, say if it's 1 by 1 millimeters, then I would probably go putty. Now, if it's 1 millimeter wide by maybe only a 1/4 millimeter deep, depends. I would then probably try to fill it with a plastic strip. But if it's all weird and everything, then I might use the putty. It's very situational, and it depends on a lot of different variables. So it's tough. It's very tough. I try to use putty as a last resort. Let's put it that way. Super glue works really well for very small, stubborn gaps. If you don't think that maybe to me a white putty will hold appropriately, if you're questioning that, then try super glue. Super glue really works wonders, and it does sand actually really quite nicely, and it's a good it's a good Principality of Xeon. Thank you for the follow there on Twitch, buddy. Appreciate it. But super glue does sand very well, and you can get it to a nice polish too, surprisingly, and it's very close to the density of plastic. So, you know, weigh the variables, I would say. Weigh the variables. You know what? Let's switch over to camera one, because we're not doing too much right this second. I'm doing more talking to you guys, and I know I owe a notch, a floating notch, you know, demo here. And I will do that here momentarily, I promised. But let's just catch up with some of these things in the chat here. What are your thoughts on the live-action Gundam movie? I like that they're doing it, especially with a legitimate movie production company like Legendary. Legendary has made some great films over the years, and some really cool sci-fi and, you know, types of films and things like that. I'm enthused about it right now, but I'm not overly enthused about it. I don't want to get so enthused that I'm going to be disappointed if kind of the shit hits the fan. You know what I mean? I think once they get into production, maybe name the director, maybe name some actors and things like that, then, you know, my enthusiasm may ebb and flow at that point. But, you know, I think what it's going to come down to, I think for most people, is that first trailer or that first teaser. That's going to show us what they've done. That's going to show us their commitment level to the story and to the property. And you know, I hope they stick close to it. You know, obviously transitioning an anime to a movie is going to be super difficult because it's just not the same. But right now, it's a plus. You know, it's a plus for places like the U.S. and it's a plus for places like Canada and the U.K. And you know, Mexico and places like that that may not necessarily be on Bandai's radar so much right now, but I think if that film is even moderately successful, that will open up maybe some doors for better distribution to our respective countries. So, you know, right now it's a toss-up. It really is. So, I think it's cool. It's a cool idea. Just wait and see. That's all we can do, right? Let's see. Dead to Death. Do you understand, though, the shipping is going to make it cost more? Yeah, the shipping always does make it cost more, especially from Japan, but still, if he can get it for a halfway decent price to begin with, then the shipping may equal out in his favor. You know, not terrible to try. You know, we're all bargain shoppers. You know. John over there, Dead to Death. Super glue plus baking soda equals the best magic. Yeah, I've done that plenty of times, dude. That's old school. Really old school. Let's see. Exchange rates. Yeah, they're a big. They play a big role. Cool. All right. So it looks like everybody is trying to help out with the shipping conversation. So that's a good thing. So with that being said, we're caught up on the chat, thankfully. Let's get back and let's do that floating scribe notch, that floating notch here on this piece, and we'll show you how to get some nice crispy corners. Let's switch back to camera, swoosh. And okay, so what we're gonna do, let's get you zoomed in here, just like that. There we go. And what I said I was gonna do is I'm going to put a floating scribe just near the top. Again, you guys, proper chisel discipline. Make sure you cap your chisels so you don't damage them, because that's a serious investment, and you don't want to go wasting money. All right, let's get a nice thin little piece of Dymo tape out here, just like that. That looks to be about 1 millimeter, maybe a little bit over, maybe 1.5 mils. Let's see. Let's do some measuring. Yeah, that's about 1.5 millimeters. So I think that's a good width from the top that we're going to go with. So let's peel off this backing paper, and I'll show you how we do this floating notch. Now, for those of you that don't know what I mean, a floating notch is different from obviously a normal notch, which basically will come off or run parallel to an existing panel line. A floating notch is just kind of floating out in the piece itself, and what that represents is a much heavier duty latch than all the other notches, than what those essentially represent. So let's make sure we are lined up properly. Good. Press that down to commit that to the piece. And what we're going to do, the notch size that I really like to go with is a 0.3 for this type of thing. The panel lines are 0.15, so obviously this is double, which gives it a nice contrast. You can also use 0.5, 0.7, maybe 1 millimeter in certain situations, but over that, probably I would stay away from those widths for notches. Those are more for shaping and sculpting the plastic at that point. So we've got our tape, got our Dymo tape locked onto this piece. Now we're just ready to scribe. Now, what I like to do is start from one side and lightly just kind of get the floating notch going in that direction, flip it around, make the two match in the middle. So I'll show you here what I mean. We're not going to go all the way over to the panel line. We're going to stay about 1 millimeter away from it. We're just going to eyeball it for right now. The most important thing is picking up your starting point correctly, because that is going to give you that nice, crispy box end. And as you can see, I've flipped this around. I'm doing the same thing from the other side. Now I'm getting some chirping, some skipping and stuff, so this is not an even panel line on the bottom, or this is not an even notch on the bottom of the notch right now. So not to worry, though. We'll come back, we'll clean that up in just a moment once these two are met in the middle, and once these two ends are nice and square. I need to go over a little bit more on this side, get closer to the panel line, because we are not centered. Now that's okay if that happens. Just kind of chisel away that extra plastic, and that will start to even out. See what that looks like. Yeah. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's get focused here. You guys can see what I mean. Now let's pull the Dymo tape off first. Then you'll be able to see this a little bit better. All right. So there it is. Just a floating notch right there in the middle. It's about 1.5 millimeters down from that top panel line, about 1 millimeter in from each side, and it's just floating there. So now, with the Dymo tape off, now we're just going to clean it up. We're going to go back and forth on a couple of passes just to make sure the bottom is nice and smooth, making sure it's not chirping or skipping or anything like that to us, and make sure that each end is nice and square and even. That's the toughest part when you're trying to do like a floating notch like this, or maybe a parallel notch with an existing panel line or something like that, or even a custom panel line. Just getting it smooth on the bottom, that is always going to be the hardest part. But by George, I think we've got it. Just use your chisel to kind of dig out any scraps or floating pieces of plastic that may still be in that floating notch. And then we'll come back here in just a moment and we'll wet sand this down to see our finished notch. Okay, there we have it. Chisel discipline, cap on. So let's see. And there she is. There's your floating panel, your floating notch, just in the middle of a panel. And now you can do this pretty much anywhere in a panel. So what this, and sometimes, and I just noticed this because Bandai, look at this, molded that in. I don't know if that's going to catch the light or not. Molded a floating notch right there at the bottom of this piece. So you can see this is a normal aesthetic detail in Gundam models all over the place. You will see floating notches. It's just something common in the world of Gundam. Also in, you know, Zeon suits and things like that, those are common. You know, like I said, they represent heavier duty latches and things like that for your panels to keep them secure onto the actual frame. That's what they represent in real world terms. All right, so let's zoom out just a bit back to 50 millimeter. That looks good for me. And we're going to do a little bit of wet sanding on this guy, clean him up, and we'll take a look at our finished piece. Now, where did the sandpaper go? Shoot. Here we go. Found it. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat. All right, so you don't put tape down for the start and the end points. I don't personally, Bailey, no, but you can. With this type of floating notch, I just eyeballed it. If it's maybe a bigger notch on a much more prominent piece that where you need accuracy, then I probably would, just to make sure I don't go over you know, those two endpoints. So great question there. I didn't manage to, didn't think to mention that. But yeah, for this little piece, I just eyeballed it because it's going to be close enough. So yeah. All right, so wet sanding. Dip your wet sand, waterproof sandpaper in the water. And I always like to keep a little container of water with me. Just so I can do this very process. We're going to move the water out of the way so not to spill it on myself, because that would be a bad day. And we're just going to go to town on this piece. Just, you know, short little circular action just to get that nice and smooth. And you want to make sure that you're not rounding the corners over, because that is a very very easy thing to do. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So once I've got the circular motions done, then I kind of I like to go back and forth and vary it up a bit. Maybe do some cross hatching, go side to side, and then turn it around 90 degrees, go the other side to side, and maybe even a 45-degree type of sanding technique. Whatever I'm feeling at the time. Maybe I'm feeling squirrely, I don't know. So this is going to be nice and smooth. I would definitely go back and smooth this out with a higher grit sandpaper. I think this is maybe 600 wet dry, but this gives you at least a easy indication of what this will look like once it's nice and smooth and sanded down properly. So let me just wipe off the kind of plastic goo that forms from that wet sanding process here. It's a combination of dust and plastic dust and water. It's kind of nasty, but you can just wipe that off real easy. So let's get this toothbrush out here. Just make sure all of that goo is out of those panel lines and that notch. And there we go. We're looking good. So let's see if we can, let's get zoomed in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Whoop. And there she is. Nice and clean. Easy peasy. Now, like I said, I would go back with a higher grit sandpaper and really smooth it out, make the surface nice and smooth. But even if I wanted to paint this, it wouldn't really matter too much. But attention to detail is everything, guys. So make sure you do that. All right, let's catch up in the chat, shall we? Let's see. Would priming help before scribing panel lines, make it more visible? In some cases, sure. I usually don't go that route just because it's personal preference, but there was, I forget who said it the other night, if you're doing kit bashing or if you're using putty or if you're scratch building something, you may have 20 different colors of plastic on one single piece, and it's hard to visualize sometimes those panel lines. So what people will do to alleviate that challenge is to prime it all completely and then do the panel lines on that, just one static color. So that's definitely an option. It really is just personal preference and what you find is easiest. Me, I've been doing this so long, I can visualize these things once they're in paint and everything. So me personally, I don't have the need for it, but if it makes it easier for you, then by all means, I would say give it a shot. So great question there. Let's see. Lol Scrub, gotta hit the bed. Thank you very much for the video, much appreciated, dude. Thank you, and much appreciated for the follow on Twitch. Thank you for watching, Lol Scrub. Appreciate it. So let's do a time check. 11:54. Cool. Let's go maybe another half hour or so, and then we'll call it a night. So far, pretty good. We had some really good conversations, so that's always a fun part for me. I showed you this awesome Gundam scratch build manual, so pick that up, did some scribing and a little bit of detail work. Now I'm going to revert back to this guy right here, because this should have been plenty of time for this now to be properly affixed on that piece. And what I like to do, let me zoom out just a little bit, get you back up to about 50mm tape on there so the zoom doesn't slip. What I like to do when I add these larger detail pieces is to do what's called an outline scribe, which is basically you just running around the edge of this piece and scribing a notch, or scribing a line, I should say. What that does, when you go to panel line this thing, that will give almost like a pseudo shadow, and that will make that that piece appear to be separated. It will make it appear to come out from the piece. Helmwagenkar. My pronunciation is terrible, but thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Helmwagenkar. Helmweigern car. I know that's, I think that was from season 2 of IBO. I think it was that big horn, that horny mech. I think that's what it was called. I don't know. I forget. But sorry if I butchered that name too, by the way. As you watch and as you will see, I'm terrible at pronunciation. So, but thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an outline scribe of this. And like I said, we're going to make it look as if it's separated or coming out of that particular piece. Almost, if you guys have seen like old 70s American muscle cars, Drifty Striker, thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate that. Thank you for watching on Twitch. Awesome. But if you guys have seen old 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, sometimes American muscle cars with the engine kind of coming out of the hood, that, you know, that air intake and stuff like that, that's almost the kind of idea that we're trying to simulate here. Fine Blood, thank you for the subscribe on YouTube. Man, you guys are kicking it tonight. I love it. That little ding, I love that noise. So keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. So thank you all 3 of you that just subscribed and followed and all that. Good on you. Thank you, sirs, or ma'ams, or whatever. I don't want to assume. So let's get to scribing this thing. Visor down, locked and loaded. And like I said, this is probably one of your easiest scribe jobs because you're just going around. You're just adding some depth to the piece. Whoop. Now, this was almost a very bad thing that was about to happen here because I grabbed the 0.3 and I almost started scribing in. That would have been a bad day. I want to grab the 0.15, and as it just so happens, they are both the same color handle. So that could have been a bad day. So make sure you got the right chisel, because that's going to be very important, because you don't want this wide, nasty, ugly-looking scribe line. So let's see. We're just going to run it right around the right around this piece, and this is going to be super quick, super easy, except for these bevel corners. Those are going to take a little bit of work, but nothing crazy, nothing hard. This adds major depth to your detail pieces, guys. I've done this on pretty much all of my modern builds to great effect, and it just looks really, really good. One of my favorite techniques. You don't want to use it a tremendous amount. You don't want to go overboard or anything like that, but when you use it sparingly with something like this, you know, type of detail, it really makes it pop, and it really adds a mechanical depth to the that part. So we're already 3 sides down, and this has been, what, maybe 2 minutes? So very, very quick. Let's see. Every time. Yeah, there's only so many colors, Bailey. That is very true, man. That is very, very true. And I've got a ton of different colors. As you can see, these are just a few. I got my box of chisels over here off to the side. But yeah, you know, I get these black ones, and I use them for the little ones, but you know what? Sometimes you just grab the wrong one. We are human, after all. Okay. You just want to make sure with all your scribes that the corners themselves are nice and clean and crisp. The corners, when you're first getting started, are probably going to be the most challenging part of scribing to get right, is because you're going to have a tendency to shoot over that corner, or blow out that corner or something like that. It takes practice, but once you get it, your scribes will look so much better once you get those clean corners. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not, immune from blowing out a corner or overshooting a corner or anything like that. It happens to the best of us, guys. That's why there's putty. That's why there's sandpaper. That's why there's all these types of things to help you fix anything that you might have made a mistake with. Okay, looks good. Now, the last thing that we need to do with this is, like I said before, you want to have great panel lines. They need to go someplace. They need to end somewhere. So right here on the very edge, we're going to drop that panel line down and make it go that way. So with this, since it's so thin, I can again push it and just freehand this, because it's just such a thin area. There's not a lot of room for mistakes, but you do have to be careful when pushing. Like I said before, these chisels, especially these small ones, these are pretty fragile, and you want to make sure that you're ginger with them. So I'm trying to concentrate here. Cool. All right, so now those are pushed in. We've got an established groove. Now we can really deepen it up and match it with the that outline scribe. There we go. Good. Last side here. Good. All right, there we go. Chisel discipline. Boop. All right. So now what we're going to do is, just to finish this edge off right here, we're going to do a little wet sanding on it, and that will pretty much be it. It's hard to sand these outline scribes simply because they're so close to a raised detail like this, this detail piece that we scratch built the other night. A lot of the times I will not sand around the piece, only if it's really, really distinct, only if it's very noticeable. But a lot of times, if you've got great technique, it's not going to show. So that's a good thing. All right. So first, just general pass here with the sandpaper. We're going to go back another time off camera or something like that when I'm not streaming it, because that's boring for you guys. But let's show you the outline scribe here. Okay. So this may not pick up. Let's see if she gets it. Maybe hard at that angle there. Yeah, I don't think you guys are going to see this on camera, but you can see it there a little bit, how there's a little bit more of an enhanced shadow on this side of that detail piece. The shadow is definitely deeper, and that's basically what an outline scribe does, is it makes a pseudo shadow. So, but that looks pretty damn good. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's get caught up. Let's see. Could add the size label on the cap. Yeah, I could. They have a nice, these chisels have a nice little place right here on the handle. This is indented, actually. You can't see it because the sticker is there, but it's a very small spot specifically for the chisel. It was just carelessness on my part, So I'm not going to sweat it too much right now. Let's see what else. Why not get thin colored cover for them? If they made them, I absolutely would. But I like these hard covers that actually come with the handles. They protect it really quite nicely, so you can tell which ones which. Yeah, it would make things a lot easier. It definitely would. Let's see. Bailey says smart ideas. Both the PMC chisels all come with extra stickers. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Bailey says should make a shirt, chisel discipline. I like that idea. I think that's pretty cool. I might actually do that. That's a good one. Let's see. Alex Andrews looks like he's still surfing for kits. He says he just saw that they have the Buster Gundam as well. Can only choose one. Yeah, making decisions like that is tough. Cyril Hottie says, your favorite mobile suit designer? He's asking the question. My most favorite mobile suit designer? Good question. Easy answer, though. Hajime Katoki. Katoki himself. Verka. You know, I've followed him, gosh, for really since I got into modeling, really. And let's go back to one camera here so I can talk to you guys, because I don't think we're going to go too much longer anyway. So I think we're done with demos and stuff. So I'll just talk to you. I've liked Katoki. I've been a Katoki fanboy since kind of I got into the hobby, seeing you know, his work on Stardust Memories, 0083. You know, starting there with the GPO1, GPO2, subsequent you know, Power GM, those kind of designs. I really love that very mechanical aesthetic, and it just speaks to me. And obviously through my work, you guys can see that it has made a major impact on kind of my style as well. So great question. Let's see here. Off topic from Kenneth Sim over there on YouTube. What do you think of this year's Hong Kong GBWC? Great. I absolutely loved it. We talked about it a little bit on the last stream. What an absolutely gorgeous piece. And if you guys haven't seen this thing, it's a mega size Char Zaku. And what the gentleman, the modeler, did was he scratch built out of plastic, mind you, strip and plate and all sorts of other stuff, Char's head with his helmet and everything on the other side, and it's kind of broken up mechanically in the back, like the Zaku is kind of emerging from it, if you will. Just, man, such a refreshing piece to look at and just to kind of marvel. He's Manfei-ing, I believe is his name. Again, I'm terrible at pronunciation, so I may be butchering that. If I am, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. But man, wow. Follow him on Instagram. God, what's his Instagram account? Manson Ultra, and I think it's Manson with, and there's an E at the end, I think. I could be wrong. If you go on to my Instagram page and look at the people that I follow, you'll probably see him on there, Free Manson 1 or something like that there. Just go through those and you'll probably find him. But man, what an absolutely amazing piece. Like I said, it's refreshing because it's not necessarily artistic leaning, but it's also not technical leaning. So I think that's kind of really a happy, perfect medium. So good call on that. Let's see, what else? Dark Kaiser 99, thanks for the tip, bro. You are the best. Really appreciate it. No, sir, you are the best. Thank you, and you are really appreciated. Thanks for watching. Gamerbud, just saw a pic of that Char Zaku kid. It was so amazing. Dude, it so was. He says that Char's head is impressive. Dude, if you haven't seen the work in progress pictures, you are doing yourself a great disservice because you should absolutely check them out. I know a bunch of people have shared his whip pictures and stuff like that. Kenny Lim, Toymaker on Facebook has shared it. Waylander on there as well, and a bunch of other guys have shared it. So check out their pages. You'll find his page. Make sure you like his page because he definitely deserves every like that he gets. Just an amazing piece. Amazing piece. Alex Andrews just ordered the Master Grade Jesta. Can't wait. Dude, it's a great kit, so congratulations. Awesome stuff. Let's see. Are we caught up? It only came to 48.98 pounds, so quite happy. Yeah, that's not bad. Here in the States, it's like 40 US is about the going rate on Amazon. And then, you know, you factor shipping and everything. So that's not crazy. Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, good score, man. Good score. And it's a great kit too. So insanely solid, and it's just a joy to put together. Wonderful articulation, and just the look of it is just so cool. Just love that. So good stuff there. Good stuff. Principality of Ziani says, any advice for custom LED in a kit? Thinking of doing it for the Deep Striker. You know, I'm one person that has not gotten into the LED scene just yet. So I can't really give you too much advice on installing LEDs. What I will say though is that a company, the Japanese company HiQ, makes LED components that are very easy to assemble and install into the model and things like that. So if you have any trepidation of doing like a custom job, look into the HiQ components. Places like Hobby Search will be probably your best source for that, because Hobby Search, as far as I'm concerned, has the best selection when it comes to tools and customization pieces of any website out there, including HLJ. HLJ is kind of when it comes to tools and option parts, but definitely look into HiQ. You know, they have the battery holder. You know, they have the LEDs with, you know, very long lead wires and things like that. They have different sizes of LEDs. Yeah, HiQ is just great. They make awesome detail parts, and they make the absolute best decals in the world, hands down. They're amazing decals to work with. So I would always endorse HiQ products, and it looks like Bailey is the same way. He says, if you can find anything HiQ, just get it, I say. I agree. You can find it pretty easily on Hobby Search, though. 1999.jp.co/en. Google Hobby Search, you'll find it. Just look for the 1999 URL, and that's them. So they're my vendor of choice by far. Reasonable shipping, great selection of tools and option parts. Showed a box the other night, if you guys missed it on the other live stream, of some option parts that I got from them. I usually stock up every year or so on my option parts, and I just got my kind of restock in, if you will, and man, they come through every single time. They came through for me this time, and every other time that I've ever ordered from them. So yeah, just can't go wrong with Hobby Search. So, all right, guys, 12:15. Let's call it a night, shall we? In closing, I want to thank you guys for watching. I want you guys to make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff on all the social media channels. You'll find them in the description of YouTube. You'll also find them in the description on Facebook and also soon on Twitch as well. Look for me, keep an eye on all my progress pictures and all that on those social media outlets. And then also, if you want to rock one of these awesome I Build Giant Robot t-shirts, the only place to get them is the Chowda Mecha store. So hit up chowdamecha.com for those and some other amazing t-shirts and accessories and swag and stuff like that. Some really good stuff on there. Love the quality of these shirts, and I'm not just saying that. I really, really do nice, heavy, rugged shirts. So, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. All you guys in the chat, making this an interesting conversation. I couldn't do it without you. I don't know how I would sit here and just ramble on for 2 hours, but I probably could if I needed to. But you guys make it much more interesting. The conversations that we have are just so enjoyable for me, and I hope they're the same for you. I hope you guys have learned something. We're going to keep doing this. I'm going to be back on here tomorrow night at about the same time. You'll see notifications and things like that if you guys are subscribed and liked and all that good stuff. So if you're around tomorrow night, come on and join us again. Let's have some more conversations. I'll show you some things that I'm working on, and we'll just have a good time. Is that a deal? Yeah? Yeah, we on for it tomorrow. So tomorrow is our date. All right, we'll do that tomorrow. Cool. I'll see you guys there. All right, guys. I'm Tim, the one and only Chowda Mecha. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night.